Hello. Uh, for my persuasive speech, I'll be talking about why you should get or build your own computer instead of buying a console. Um, the advantages when it comes to PC over console is that the PC has a very large range of uses compared to just a console. Being just a device for playing video games. You could do a lot more productivity on a desktop. You can have a bigger access to game library on a desktop. You can just do a wider range of tasks while doing it while on a desktop. And pretty much the desktop can do everything that a console can do, which is better. And I'll list off several reasons why it is better. So, for starters, uh, desktops can be used for browsing the internet, watching YouTube, getting homework done, sending emails, all these things, and it can be used as a daily tool instead of just a machine for watching movies and playing video games on. Desktops, when you build them, you have the ooh, camera is not liking that. When you build desktops, the the components that you put in them can be interchanged. So, for example, when you buy a console, it usually has around a 5 to 7 year range where the developers will support it with video game releases, and then after that, will just move on to the next console, and you're pretty much forced to buy a brand new console after that. With a desktop, you can use your computer indefinitely, and when you feel the need to, you can switch out components as you go on. So, for example, when I built my computer, I built it with a underpowered video card. It was a 1063 gigabyte version, and I just was not very satisfactory in the games I was trying to play, so I upgraded to 1080, which is 8 gigabytes of memory on that. Then I got better RAM, more storage, etc., etc. And these components are very easy to install if you know what you're doing. All you need to do is just buy a cord or uh, have an available slot or buy an adapter, and you can easily add more storage, increase the power of your computer, etc., etc. Excuse me. Uh, Also, when it comes to the gaming performance between a desktop and a console, it is besides the exclusive titles that come out uh, on consoles such as like God of War for the PS4 and several other titles, The Last of Us, stuff like that. You have to physically buy the console to play those games because they're only made to be played on those consoles. But other than that, every other game is cross-platform nowadays. You can play with your friends on console with PC, and desktops have a the option to tweak their graphical settings to your desired specifications. The consoles do not; they come at a set fixed setting. Um, with a desktop, you have access to games that are not available on the console, such as Rust. Well, actually, no, that's a bad example. I just got a console port. Nothing's coming to mind, but really, there's a video game market called Steam that just has hundreds of thousands of millions of games, all dedicated to just PC players. Uh, when it comes to graphical specifications, you can tweak uh, what's called frames per second, and pretty much what you're wanting to achieve is a steady 60 frames per second at the very bare minimum at a 1080p full HD resolution. What uh, people that are, well, quote unquote enthusiasts that like to do is get at least 100 FPS to 144, and then they have special monitors that will be able to display these increased frames because a basic computer monitor only has a screen refresh rate of 60 hertz, which allows it to show 60 frames per second on the screen. When you can get a screen that's 144 hertz refresh rate, and that allows you to have a very smooth video feed and gives you a advantage in fast-paced tactical games. And then moving on, we have the peripherals. With console, you have your controller with your thumbsticks and buttons. You're very limited on the range and what you're able to do. But with a computer, you have your mouse and your keyboard, and you're able to have a full range of movement with your full wrist and not just a little thumbstick. So you're able to, especially when it comes to like first-person shooters and fast-paced tactical games that require fast reaction times, that the ability to react at a split second's notice with the mouse over having to position yourself with a thumb on your controller. It allows you to have much more precision on the desktop. Uh, when it comes to racing games, though, I actually prefer going on the console because let me see if I can get this up real quick. When you're playing a racing game on the computer, to accelerate, you press you just press a button, and it's like you're just flooring the you're just flooring the car. And that's it. When you're playing a racing game on a controller, usually they bind the acceleration pedal to a trigger, and that allows you to like feather the throttle pretty much. It allows you to have better range of control, and the joystick allows you to turn better because also turning is also just full sharp all the way right or all the way left on the computer. So console has its advantages, but here's the thing: is that you could also take a controller and hook it up to your desktop and act like like you're using a console for mostly every game that's out there. Most every games nowadays have some sort of default uh, what's it called? Button mapping that you can just plug in a controller and it's like, oh, this is a controller. Here we go. You can play the game now. But even if it doesn't have that, you can plug in a controller and Steam itself has a custom controller input interface. So what you do is you have your USB controller, you stick it in your desktop, you go into the window and you just map what button does what. So you have an Xbox controller, okay, this is the A button, this is the joystick, etc., etc., and you can map out this controller to do what you would like. Um, by doing that, it pretty much just completely negates the entire necessity of having a console for controller players. Uh, Another thing is emulation is also a big thing. Uh, Titles nowadays, or older titles that aren't sold nowadays, such as titles from like the I don't know NES and the Atari days, and video games that are older that are not being sold anymore and have no way of being purchased by the manufacturer and only can be purchased by a third party. I believe it is completely fine well, technically it's pirating, but it's emulating those games because there is no other source to buy those games where the developer sees like any sort of monetary transaction. You're just paying some guy off of eBay for a game cartridge that the company sold like 10 years ago. Um, I'm getting to the 9-minute mark, so I'll go ahead and try to conclude what my argument has stated. Desktop, better graphics, uh, more responsiveness with mouse movement, better productivity, more upgradability, more customization, better longevity, And overall, I believe you have a better experience while using a computer over a console. This concludes everything. Thank you very much. Have a good night.